Hi, this is Dr. Andrea Letamendi.
And Brian Ward from the Arkham Sessions.
And you are listening to
the Geekcast Radio Network.
It's been 5 years and the Geekcast Radio Network would like to give back to you. How, you may ask? Well, first of all, we're coming up with a brand new website to be launched June 1st, 2014. In addition to that, there'll be many new features for interactive abilities. So how do you enter into this magical celebration? Well, Geekcast Radio has a contest where you can win some awesome prizes, ranging from comics, Blu-rays, DVDs, trade paperbacks, and comics, and more. How do you enter? Write in your favorite stories of how the Geekcast Radio Network has affected you in the last 5 years, and how it's unleashed the geek in you. You can also enter by writing reviews on our shows on iTunes. For more information, visit www.geekcastradio.com and click on the banner. So until next time, unleash the geek in you.
You are now on the inside of what I like to call the circle of trust. We are all connected in the great circle of life.
You know something, Bert? What? I think you and I are going in circles.
It feels like we're going in circles.
The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
Because it's a circle.
Yeah, we heard about the circle.
Yes, we're familiar with shapes.
Hi, this is Chuck.
This is Greg.
And this is Dan, and we are Talking in Circles, brought to you by the Geekcast Radio Network, the podcast that will present a full episode this time. We're back again, and if you listened to the last episode, you probably heard the fact that we had a little bit of a recording snafu. I don't know. I kind of think there was this conspiracy going on. I don't know what you guys think, but clearly someone's messing with us.
There's definitely a conspiracy going on. I mean, think about it. We were talking about the Batman Superman sequel and that whole thing about Batman wasn't thrown in there to save the franchise. We were snubbed on that one.
Yeah. We'll find out who it was, and we'll surely get our vengeance. I promise you that.
I think, honestly, the Secret Service was listening in, and they just shut us down. You know?
Darn you, NSA.
I think that, honestly, Hollywood should make a movie about it one day.
The Great Podcast Mystery.
Yeah.
Genius. I'd go see that movie. That movie for sure. But besides all that, how's the week been going for you guys?
Not bad. Just had some meatloaf, so I'm excited about that.
Ooh, meatloaf.
I was doing the Will Ferrell thing. I was like, meatloaf! Eat the meatloaf! So, yeah, nice and content right now.
Greg, how's your week been going?
I only had a little filet with bacon wrapped around it. Filet of steak.
That sounds delicious. And is it sad that when I hear filet, I just get that filet of fish song stuck in my head from McDonald's?
This was much better than that. I'm not much of a fish guy, but more of a turf guy, so I'm going to say that mine was better.
I really love turf and also Nerf. Nerf was a lot of fun. But
I wouldn't recommend eating that, though.
No.
Pretty sure that's a choking hazard.
There's a good chance. See, you guys had all that food, and I had freaking Arby's, so I think you guys win.
Oh, I love Arby's.
Yeah, but they smoke their meat for 13 hours, you know.
They keep their meat out for 13 hours. I'm pretty sure they're not smoking it. But...
There's a guy that just smokes by it and puts his cigarette out in it.
Yeah. It's only smoked meat brought to you by Marlboro. But yeah, it's kind of a busy week. We have family coming down this week because my wife is graduating from Johns Hopkins for her master's. So a little bit of a busy... Yay. Yeah. So it's kind of craziness. Congrats. Yeah. I will pass on her congrats unless she's listening. Who knows? Maybe she'll listen while she's graduating.
She stopped listening. We don't have to do this, Chuck. She stopped listening. She gave up on us. So it is, Carol.
In that case, who cares about Johns Hopkins? Like, that's a big deal.
Looking at the bill, it is kind of a big deal.
I bet.
But anyways, yeah, so that's going on. But besides that, you know, enjoying the summer. Finally, the weather is getting warmer. Sun's shining. We're not getting rain a few days a week, which is nice. No longer always living in Seattle. I felt like We're just getting monsoon after monsoon.
Hey, we won the Super Bowl, everybody! Look at that.
Chuck, you were mentioning that you were watching a movie or something. What else have you been up to?
Yeah, I did catch a movie this weekend. It was another one of those that I just kind of happened to catch on TV and decided to watch it. It was the 1990s Western, The Quick and the Dead.
Ooh, Sam Raimi. Nice.
Yes, I was curious if either of you guys have seen The Quick and the Dead. I wasn't sure.
I have not seen it. I do own it, but I have not seen it, which is a case for a lot of movies. It may not have been opened yet, and I bought it like 5 years ago. So there you go.
Nice.
You said it was The Quick and the Dead, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I got confused because it's the Skype skipped for a second. So all I got was Of the Dead, and I heard Sam Raimi, so I wasn't sure if it was one of the Bruce Campbell movies, but I have seen Quick and the Dead.
Yeah, I mean, it is a star-studded movie for sure. I mean, you look at Gene Hackman, Sharon Stone, Leo DiCaprio, and actually, believe it or not, Russell Crowe's first American movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, nobody had a clue who this guy was before this movie, so. Apparently Sharon Stone, like, handpicked him, like she wanted him in the movie or something, and so that was kind of interesting.
During the interview process, she uncrossed her legs, and that's how he took the role.
He was like, I'll take it.
And the role, too.
But yeah, you go back to, this movie goes back to 1995, and Leonardo DiCaprio looks like he's about 11 years old in this movie.
So like a few years younger than now?
Yeah. He's competing with Eli Manning, though, for that.
I swear he looks like he is still like 22 years old. The guy doesn't age. It's really weird.
He grows a goatee that helps him out a little bit.
And the guy who was in Amazing Spider-Man 2 looks so much like young Leonardo DiCaprio. It's creepy.
Yeah.
Dane DeHaan.
And yeah, like even if you look at Russell Crowe, like how young he looks and stuff like that. But Dan, I'll try not to ruin it too much for you because I know you have said you haven't seen it and everything, but the basic like gist, this young woman rides into town, and everyone in the saloon signing up for this like gunslinging tournament. It's like a fast draw competition, and except it's against each other, and you could kind of die if you get in front of somebody else's bullet. So it's kind of a big deal. There's a huge pot of money, but you have to follow the tournament rules laid out by this guy named Harad, who is played by Gene Hackman, and he's kind of like the ruler of this town. He's like, for some reason, in control of this town, kind of has them all under his thumb and everything.
Is Rod really hard?
No, he's kind of a softie.
Oh, he's a softie. I hope he doesn't spit when he talks. That would be really awkward.
He does kind of, yeah.
Oh.
It's awkward.
Like that conversation.
Yes. I'm just trying to roll with whatever you're saying, Greg. Basically, you learn some stuff through some flashbacks about the young woman's past and all this other stuff. I don't want to ruin it too much for Dan and anybody else that might be interested in it, but I will say it's a pretty interesting plot. It's a pretty interesting movie. It works fairly well. There's a lot of good parts to the movie that I like. Mainly the ending is really well done. But there's a lot of things that just completely ruin it for me and make it incredibly corny and like just plain stupid in some spots. And honestly, I was surprised at first to learn that Sam Raimi directed this. But after I thought about it, I kind of saw some resemblance to like his other movies and stuff. But like, firstly, one of the problems I had was a lot of the camera shots where they zoom in really quickly on the faces of characters, and then they do everyone's face like right after the other, like zooming in on them. Just to me, makes it look so campy and goofy and stuff like that. Then you have shots where the camera's like focused on a character, and then the background is kind of being warped and stretched out and stuff like that. It just looks like really dumb to me. I don't think it goes well with this type of movie, and it would be so much better, in my opinion, if it was set in a very serious tone and kind of use that tried and true format just to make like a darn good Western out of it. There's just a lot of things that didn't fit for me. And the other thing was some of the death scenes were like really overdone. Like the guy gets hit with a bullet and he like flails his whole body backwards and flips onto the ground and stuff. It just looks really like unrealistic. Like the poor guy probably needed to visit the chiropractor after that take or something.
Raimi is one who does enjoy his silliness for sure. I mean, Evil Dead, Evil Dead, the first one wasn't too silly. It was more just low budget. The second one had some silliness to it, and especially
just a little bit, just a little bit.
But it was, I don't know, it was a good silliness. So I think
it worked for that movie.
He always was able to kind of mix different tones really well. He does really have a unique style that's really his own. I can imagine how that would be kind of awkward in a Western. And I've not seen the movie, but I've heard similar complaints that it just doesn't work, and maybe it was a little bit too, like his style just needed to be kind of muted down a little bit. But hopefully I'll check it out soon and see if I agree.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when I found out he directed it, and I thought about even Spider-Man and some of the weird angles he took in that, and different zooms and stuff on Jameson and Spider-Man, and I'm like, yeah, I could kind of see that, but to me it doesn't work for a Western though. Like, and apparently he's really into Hercules stuff too, as you can really tell by his resume, like all the Hercules stuff he's done, but not so good at the Old West stuff there, Sam. Sorry. But it was funny. I wanted to mention too that oddly enough, Sam Raimi's original ending for the movie wasn't working out so well, and he went to Sony to hire a writer, and they come back with Joss Whedon of all people.
Nice. And
of course known for his Avengers fame now and everything, writing and directing that movie, but Whedon comes in to The Quick and the Dead, and he rewrites the ending in one afternoon. And the ending is actually really good to this movie. It's my favorite part of the movie. But I thought that was a great tidbit. But, I mean, I look at the movie, it's got tremendous potential with the script, even with the cast, like all this good stuff going on. And I just think maybe I would have picked a different director just based on like Sam Raimi's style and something like that. But the weird thing is apparently Sharon Stone really wanted Sam Raimi as well, because the studio sent her a list of directors and asked her which one she would prefer, and she sent back one, and that was Sam Raimi.
Yeah, she doesn't kind of have that pull anymore. You'd be like, I want this director. Be like, who are you? I don't know what you're doing here.
Go sit down. But and I guess she really wanted DiCaprio too, and apparently there's a rumor that she actually paid his salary herself. I don't know how true that is. It sounds kind of far-fetched, but
interesting. So is she like the main star in the movie, or is she just?
Yes, she's pretty much the central character.
Interesting. I never would have guessed that with that cast list, but I guess she was kind of big at the time, so.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a split up between her, Russell Crowe, and Gene Hackman.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
I
guess if you look at like screen time and stuff, but the central story is around her pretty much. Like,
yeah.
I would agree with you though. There's some backstory between Gene Hackman and Russell Crowe's character that is kind of like weaved into it too, though. So, but yeah, like I said, it's got great potential with the story that they have going on, but just some of those things ruined it for me. And maybe Dan, you'd feel differently if you checked it out, but.
Yeah, I will. Maybe it'll give me an excuse to watch it this weekend. So.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts.
Or you could just keep watching AMC because they replay it about 20 billion times in 1 month.
See, I have a rule where I do not watch a movie for the first time on TV because the TV editing, you never know what you're kind of missing. So I don't know why I make rules that really have no purpose, but I do. So, but
yeah, but you made the rule so you can break it.
That's true. Or I could just watch the movie that way. I don't have to be like, I have to wait until 2:00 to watch when it's on. Or I can just pop in my DVD. So. Plus, it'll give me an excuse to open it and feel like I made that purchase for a reason, and not just wasting money. I think it cost me like $5, so who knows?
Yeah, it's not too bad.
It was an impulse buy, so. All right, anything else?
That's pretty much all I was up to this weekend.
All right, Greg, I know you tend to be a little bit more cultured than Greg and than Chuck and I.
Oh, yes, so cultured.
Yeah, I know. Professor Greg here. What have you been up to?
Not a real professor.
So you can probably teach at our college.
I read a book. You'll hear the name of it and be like, okay, he's not that cultured.
Twilight?
It's better than Twilight.
Thank God.
But the movie version of it was probably just as bad. I read a Percy Jackson book. It was in that series, House of Hades. It's the latest one out.
I remember when way back in like our second episode when we talked about what we're looking forward to, you mentioned this, so curious to hear what you thought of it.
Well, I think I was looking forward to the second movie, I think. Was that out around the time when we first started? The
second movie came out last year, so.
Oh, okay. Never mind. But yeah, I was looking forward to reading this book, and I finally got around to reading it. And let me tell you, the books are way better than the movies. The movies kind of leave out a lot of fun stuff. But these stories are kind of meant for younger kids, younger than I am. I believe on Amazon it says recommended for ages 10 to 14. So I don't know. Unless you're calling a whole bunch of 10 to 14-year-old kids cultured, I'm not really that cultured, but it does have to deal.
Though.
Yeah, it does have to deal with mythology and all these Greek, and in this one they combine in Roman gods and the demigod children of those gods trying to make their way through fighting the entities that they make more evil. In this particular book, I'm going to say the name and you guys are going to shout out cultural references, but they're fighting Gaia or Gaia, however you say that name. No, nothing?
Is it Gaia? Is that how you spell it?
It's Gaea.
Okay, yeah.
I was expecting Captain Planet shout outs.
Yeah, I've seen that in some other stuff too.
Well, she's the Greek, I believe it's Greek god for the earth. And we've got the two camps, the one Roman camp and the kids from the Greek camp, from Camp Half-Blood, kind of combining forces with this one team trying to go over and save Percy and Annabeth from Tartarus. No Crest or Colgate jokes. And so they're over trying to rescue them from House of Hell and also try and stop the giants from raising from Tartarus. But at the same time, before they left, there was a bit of a dispute between the two camps. And the stuff that this party has kind of attacked the Roman camp by accident, quote unquote. I'll let you guys find that out through reading. I'm not going to spoil that for anybody. So the Roman camp gets attacked, and they think it's an attack by the Greeks. So while these group of heroes are going off to do all those fun things, the Romans are going over to attack the Greek camp. So they have to do all this stuff and try and make it back in time to, they have a giant statue that they rescued in a previous book that they're trying to take back to, the camp to kind of put a piece in between the two camps, which is still kind of left open at the end of this book. There's still another book coming out. I believe that one's coming out in October at some point. And that's going to wrap up. Are they going to defeat the Earth Goddess? Are they going to be able to get the statue back in time before the two camps attack each other and have a whole bunch of their friends die in the meantime? Who knows? We're still waiting on that, but I think it's a great book to read. You don't have to know much about Greek mythology to enjoy it, because the author Rick Riordan gives you information kind of through the characters, because they're younger kids. They're around the age of the supposed readers of the book, so they're kind of a little bit foggy on their information and they don't remember every god, or he'll find some way to kind of tell you who each person is, and they kind of recap. So even if you start off not knowing that you're in a series and you start off with this book, he kind of updates you a little bit on what happened, which is nice. It's kind of the Marvel method of writing. Like, this is your first book into the series, so we kind of have some looking back into the stories that came before. But I think they're a great and fun read. You get some weird, hokey kind of stuff going on there, which I really enjoy and appreciate in a novel. I don't like novels that take themselves too seriously, and these definitely don't. The one girl has a weapon. She has a cornucopia, so she has that like giant thing that you see in the middle of a Thanksgiving table that looks like a giant horn of some sort.
Sounds delicious.
I thought you meant the tennis player, the Russian
No,
tennis
Anna Kournikova, no, not the
Anna
Russian.
Cornucopia.
Yeah, she just bashes people with a blonde girl. But no, it's even better than that. It's that large horn thing that people usually use as a centerpiece at a Thanksgiving table, and she uses it and it blows out food at people, which is kind of amusing. So it's got fun stuff like that in there. If you're older like I am, it's not just for little kids. I think older people can get amusement out of it too.
Is it like akin to like maybe not the later Harry Potter movies that get a little darker, but maybe the first few novels?
There are quite a few deaths that take place, and the places that they go through, like Tartarus, is kind of horrific. I don't think the way that Rick Riordan explains it or describes it is that horrific to me, but maybe for a younger child it might be a little bit scary, but I didn't think it was too bad. And you've got creatures like giants and scary gods, and so there might be that in there, but I don't think it's too bad. But there's definitely some deaths going on. A couple characters have died. This may be a spoiler, so maybe skip ahead a couple seconds. But there is even the social issue, which I don't think it's much of a social issue. I think it's fine. But there is a character that comes out as being gay, so I thought that was quite interesting to see in a children's book.
With all this Greek culture, my one question is where are Jesse Stamos and the Rippers? Are they a part of this?
No, they are not. I'm sorry to say, nobody has awesome mullets. There's a lot of people with Greek culture. They don't really advertise in yogurt commercials, Greek yogurt commercials. So
no, I guess that's true. I guess when you think Greek culture, you don't necessarily have to go to Full House. I mean, not the best example, but you know.
So what have you been up to, Dan? What's this movie that you've been watching this time around?
Of course I've been watching a movie. That's all I do. I've watched a few, but the one I'm going to pick out was, it's called The Double. It's currently available on demand, directed by Richard Iori, or I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
You watched a whole bunch of Double Mint gum commercials?
Kind of. The director, if you saw the movie The Watch, he is actually an actor. He's an actor too. He's in that. He's the one British guy that has glasses. He's the one guy you probably don't recognize that's in that movie. He also came up with this movie called Submarine, which I highly recommend, which is currently on streaming.
Is it yellow?
No, it is not, actually.
No.
No. We apparently all don't live in a yellow submarine. I don't know. But the idea of The Double is Jesse Eisenberg plays this character called James Simon, and it's kind of like in a futuristic Orwellian type of world. I'm not going to go into great detail.
You're calling me cultured with the little kid demigod book, and you're saying it's kind of Orwellian.
Well, you know.
Who's more cultured here, Dan? Come on.
You know. Well, it is. I mean, it's Jesse Eisenberg, so it's not like it's that cultured. Let's be honest. I'm not going to go into great detail because I did have a review on geekcastradio.com. I was also on the In Session Film Podcast that should be out in a few days, if not already, by the time this drops, where we discuss it. But the basic idea is that Jesse Eisenberg plays James Simon, this kind of character that is going through life. The world he lives in is like the future envisioned by the past. It's, like I mentioned, Orwellian, 1984-ish, but the computers are really big and bulky. It's almost steampunkish. I really love the set design. It's one of the best, like, unique films I've seen in quite a while. I kind of just wanted to visit this world and kind of enjoy it, though it's very void of joy. It's very gray, mundane. There's not much color in it whatsoever. And what happens is another character appears called Simon James that looks just like Jesse Eisenberg. And it's, exactly him. And it kind of, a dynamic grows between the two characters. No one else really notices the similarities between them, and they kind of form a friendship and then eventually a rivalry and whatnot. And there's obviously interpretation there about the two characters and what's actually going on. But I think it's a really interesting kind of thriller in a way. It has a very sharp sense of humor. If you're a fan of Wes Anderson or Terry Gilliam, who in that sense of humor, that's kind of British in a sense, where it's dry and not very overt. It's very subtle. I think you'll enjoy it, but it does get into some very thick themes, and it gets into like identity and the way we view ourselves. And I did really enjoy it. I do think it kind of gets lost within itself at times just because of everything that's going on. But I was really impressed with Jesse Eisenberg. I know a lot of people put him in the category as this guy who plays the same role all the time, but in this, he's not that at all. He kind of plays his normal self with the one character, but you really see that's more there as him in order to play a different character that's completely different, but not in the obvious way. So I was impressed by his performance. Honestly, one of the best of his career, just in all the different hats he has to wear. So has me kind of excited for him playing not Superman, but Lex Luthor in the upcoming movie.
I was going to ask you that. Do you think this kind of speaks to his abilities to portray Lex Luthor at all? Or?
A little bit. Like, the one character he's playing is very maniacal, and he can come off as charismatic, but also kind of a jerk and kind of douchebag-ish in a way. So I do kind of wonder, like, you can kind of see a little bit of what he'll do with Lex Luthor. It's not necessarily his performance in The Social Network, but it has elements of that. But he's a little bit more, he has a presence to him that you really don't associate with Eisenberg.
Right.
But behind that, you really know that he's really just putting on a face, and he's really a jerk underneath. So I think it does bode well for him as that character.
Well, if he can shave off his hair and still do it, then he's good.
What were you saying, Greg?
So Lex Luthor's a jerk?
Maybe it depends. Are you on? You don't like Superman, so for you, he's probably a hero, right?
I would think so. Yes.
He is kind of a hero in that Red Sun story.
Well, I did purchase that. I'm gonna have to get time in here to read that, but I think we're gonna save that for another episode, I believe.
We'll get to that and see, if we can finally make you into a Superman fan. We'll beat you down long enough to kind of force you into it. Talk about Orwellian. Maybe we'll just do the thing they do in Clockwork Orange, where they tie your eyes open, so you just have to keep watching Superman stuff over and over again.
Oh God!
Like Robot
like a living
Chicken.
hell.
Yeah, exactly.
I like Robot Chicken. Can I watch Robot Chicken instead?
So Dan, I wanted to ask you, for those of us that are far less cultured, what exactly is Orwellian?
Orwellian is, think of, if you ever, 1984 is a good example. Ever see that Apple commercial? Where it's it's like the world is, it's a totalitarian state where everyone has a specific job. You almost feel like you're always being watched. There's a lack of identity. There's no personal expression, really. You're kind of stuck in this role, and it's almost like you're a part of a machine. You're not an individual. So I
feel that way at work every day.
Exactly. That's usually the thing. It's like the 1984 is usually what you go to, where it's just like you have the big brother always over you. There's necessarily not that, there's no like big brother per se, but there is this character that like people try to impress, who's like kind of the leader of this company they work for. So that's kind of what I mean by when I say Orwellian.
I see.
So it's actually coming true with our podcast, since they took away half of our other episode.
Hopefully this doesn't also disappear, because then I think we will really have discovered a conspiracy. So
yeah, we don't need no thought control.
No. But besides that, what I've also been watching, and I think this is probably the most cultured thing you can experience in the last few weeks, and that, of course, is the trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy, or the second trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Nice, very cultured.
Yeah, very. I mean, you cannot get more sophisticated than a talking tree or a raccoon with a rocket launcher. I mean,
I was sipping tea with my little pinky finger out while watching this trailer.
Yeah, it's.
I was cutting a Snickers bar with a fork and knife.
I was speaking with a British accent while watching this trailer. What? Is that a giant raccoon? That was
done.
That was more Swedish than British. So I'm sorry.
I just got done with my
I
polo
apologize.
match before I was able to watch it, so I was a little bit, tired.
Sure.
See, we had a thing going there, and I just ruined it. And anyways. But, the second trailer dropped, and we got a little bit more footage this time around, a little bit more action. We had a lot of comedy last time, and there's still a good bit here. Most notably, I think we get that's different is we finally hear the voice of Rocket Raccoon, Bradley Cooper, as well as Groot, played by Vin Diesel. Small other tidbits, like, we see the base of the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is ahead of, what are those creatures called, Chuck?
Celestial.
Yeah, which is ahead of a Celestial, which I thought was pretty awesome because that kind of means there's Celestials in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too. That's really cool that they're throwing that in there.
But I guess we'll start with you, Chuck, because last time we talked about the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer, I think you're probably the most hesitant on it. So what did you think of this new one?
Well, I definitely like this one a lot better. It shows a lot more action. I think some people, maybe even you, are making the comparison that it's sort of like Star Wars meets Avengers type of thing. You definitely get that idea a little bit more here. And like you mentioned with the voice actors, with Bradley Cooper as Rocket Raccoon and Vin Diesel as Groot, I could hear the Vin Diesel in Groot, but couldn't really tell that was Bradley Cooper as Rocket Raccoon. So that was pretty impressive with his voice talent there. So, but yeah, I mean, it looks a lot better this time around for me. I'm still really disappointed in their music choices, though. To me, it just does not fit what they're trying to show. Like, I don't get their music choices for the trailer, but I mean, whatever. That's a personal thing, but yeah, it definitely looks a lot more exciting to me, and I'm definitely getting psyched for that.
Greg, what did you think?
I don't think the music is out of place. I think it kind of fits with Chris Pratt's character of Star-Lord. He's kind of Earthling who's wacky and out there goofing around, kind of thief out there in space. So he's kind of out of place for the whole situation. So I think that kind of fits. And I think the other issue that you had with it, Chuck, was Vin Diesel's voice, which didn't. Yeah, you could tell it was Vin Diesel's voice, but I think that works with the giant bulky tree.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily say it was a bad thing. I just said I could definitely tell that it's him. Like,
yeah. But other than that, I thought this was just kind of more of the same for me as the first trailer. It didn't really change my opinion of it. I still really want to see this movie. I think it's going to be really good. I kind of have my hopes up, and I hope that the movie meets those hopes.
Yeah, one thing I did like seeing, we got a little bit more of Ronan the Accuser, who I thought looks pretty cool. It looks just like the comics.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wasn't sure like what the main conflict in this movie was going to be, but it does appear like his forces are trying to take out some sort of planet or something like that. Glenn Close also shows up as Nova Prime, so I don't think she'll have a huge role, but like, yeah, it is a little bit more of the same. I do wonder though, is like when we saw this trailer, when we went to go see Captain America, we could tell like a lot of people, I think, who aren't really familiar with the property or Marvel, I got the sense that they didn't really like it. It was a little bit too weird. So yeah. I wonder if this will be like this year's Pacific Rim, where it's huge for a certain community. A lot of people love it, but for a lot of people, they just kind of, don't know what to think of it, so they don't go see it. I mean, it's Marvel, so it'll probably make money, and I'm sure they didn't spend a huge amount of money on it because they know how to, pinch pennies over there in that studio. But I did like it. I did like the last trailer. I was surprised by a few of the things, like I mentioned, mostly the Celestial head, which I was like, that's awesome. So I wonder if that means Cosmos, the dog astronaut, is going to be in it, which would be pretty cool if that happened. I think
they make mention of Nowhere.
Yeah. They show it in the trailer too. I don't know if you saw that.
I'm not too up on my space Marvel stuff to notice things like the Celestials. So
yeah,
the base is cool. Cosmos, I would actually prefer if they left him out. That always was kind of weird to me. But
yeah, I guess we'll see. It'll be hard to pull off, but they also have a talking raccoon, so I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do that. I don't know. It looks a lot of fun. It looks like really old school, like kind of almost cheesiness with classic like 70s sci-fi. But my only question really is, will it sell to the general audience? And I was thinking they would try to make that sell more with the second trailer, and it doesn't seem like they're doing that. I think they know what they're going for. I just wonder if it's going to translate to a lot of people, because I do think a lot of people it might be going too far. So
yeah, like I have some people that I try to sell the Marvel brand to every now and then. I'll refer to them as my other friends. But but I mean, I like to promote the new movies and shows and coming out and everything, and especially the Marvel ones. And a lot of the ones that I talk to about this, they're like, that looks really stupid. Like, I don't understand that. Like, just for the layman, I guess it doesn't seem like it's really piquing their interest so far.
Yeah. But maybe, I mean, I guess if they made Thor work, maybe this will also work. I mean, Thor made a more money than the first Captain America, surprisingly enough. So, I don't know. They know how to market, and they have Disney's money behind them. So I think when you have that Marvel label, people are just inclined to go. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But we're going to take a little bit of a break here, and when we come back, we'll be talking about something we all got to see, one of the summer's biggest hits so far this year, Godzilla. We'll see you in a bit.
Godzilla!
Completely
racist.
Yeah, but the movie did it too, so
that's not really racist, Craig.
Every week on the In Session Film Podcast, you can expect to hear reviews on all of the latest movies, big films, small films, and everything in between. We'll also do top 3 segments relating back to our main review. We discuss all of the latest movie news and rumblings, as well as have movie series and other fun segments. And we always talk about the films that we're watching and why you should watch them or not watch them as well. If you want to learn more about the In Session Film Podcast, check us out online at InSessionFilm.com. You can hear our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, and so much more. In fact, you can listen to everything we have straight from our website. Again, that is InSessionFilm.com. Download our podcast, check us out, and come join us every week. We'd love to hear from you.
On the Simplistic Reviews podcast, we talk movies. We talk TV. We talk.
Hello, Julie, what the heck are you doing?
Trying to make our spots sound more exciting by adding explosions.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could have got the point across with sound effects, not the real thing. Car.
Download the show on iTunes or at simplisticreviews.blogspot.com.
I'm sure your insurance company will cover that.
No, they won't.
No, they probably won't.
All right, and welcome back. A few episodes ago, we got a couple comments that people like to hear us talk about the same movie on occasion or watch the same thing or what have you. And that luckily happened again today, as we all got to check out one of the biggest hits of the summer so far. A movie that I don't know about you guys, but I was highly anticipating. And it's a movie we actually talked about the trailer way back when. It's finally out now, and that is Godzilla. Can't believe we've been having a podcast long enough that the trailers of the movies we started talking about are now out. It's so weird. Time flies.
I don't think any of our predictions came true, though, for what we thought the movie was going to be like. I don't think any of those predictions came through.
We'll get to that. I think a few did. I think mostly with or maybe not completely true, but I think we were on the right track in a few areas. But I'm curious to hear, there's been a lot of different opinions on Godzilla, even on this network, occasionally, regarding, the quality of it, what you liked, what you didn't like. So I guess, Greg, I'll start with you. I'm curious to think, as you walked out of the theater, as you left, or what you're thinking of now. Did you enjoy your time there? What were your overall general thoughts on Godzilla?
My thoughts were, I'm going in, I watched a monster movie. Did I truly think it was a monster movie that I wanted to see? Not really. Was it enjoyable? Yes. I just wanted to see a lot more monsters. I wanted to see a lot more Godzilla, and I wanted to see him fighting and taking things down and destroying shit. That's my main goal in one of these monster Godzilla movies. kind of like, I guess Pacific Rim I thought was better because I got to see more of those, battles. It was good from a standpoint that you did get, a lot of human melodrama, and you got a whole bunch of, dealing with relationships between father and son and his new family. So you got a lot of that stuff in there. But I felt like there were parts that could have been taken out. Now that I'm looking for them, I can't really find them in my head, but I felt we shouldn't have been so focused on that family, and we should be more focused on Godzilla. But I think that's a fault because of trying to get a little bit of Godzilla's origin story in there, because we haven't seen Godzilla in how many years in the real world here? I think it's got to be at least 20.
Yeah, well, there were some lesser, not lesser, were non-American versions of it. I think 2000, 2004 that it came out.
Yeah, we had the Godzilla one here, but I think that one was like 15 years or something.
Yeah.
I think they had sort of a crappy one come out in like 2010 or 2011, maybe even something like that.
Some like more that were more akin to like the old style with the guy still in the suit type of stuff. But this is like the first big budget one that we got since, Matthew Broderick decided to try to hunt down Godzilla.
And this one was definitely better than that. And I think this one was, a good placeholder for the time being until we see what they do with they've now said that there is going to be a sequel to this Godzilla movie. So
yeah, I mean it's made tons of money, and interesting enough, it cost like Amazing Spider-Man 2 cost like I forget how many $1 million, but this one was only like nearly half the budget, or a little bit, maybe not half, but like 60% of the budget of Amazing Spider-Man 2, and that to me just boggles my mind because I would think they'd be near the same, but I guess not.
Well, it's not like they showed Godzilla or the monsters that much. So.
It's true. I just think this movie looks so much better than Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I don't want to give away spoilers, but my favorite part was the triumphant ending.
I think you can nickname that Down the Hatch. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you can nickname it. Yeah. That's an adequate thing.
Chuck, what are your general impressions of Godzilla?
I liked it a lot. First and foremost, I absolutely loved the way Godzilla looked. I thought it was totally badass, and it was absolutely the best looking version, in my opinion. They kind of went back to the roots a little bit with like the little, chunkier version of his body type in that, but the face, like I just thought the face looked really cool. Like I don't know if Greg, you commented on that or something when we were walking out, but I just thought that looked really awesome. Yeah, that did look really good. The only concern about the way he looked is, I thought he kind of had cankles. I thought he was kind of a fat lizard creature. Like the bottom of his foot seemed like very rounded for some reason in the one shot that I saw. So, but other than that, I thought he looked freaking badass. Yeah, I mean, he could use some time on the elliptical maybe, but...
Well, I guess you consider the fact that he's a sea creature too. His feet, would be like fin-like, so they would be kind of like that. Because I didn't realize, though, that Godzilla, or the name Godzilla, is like combining the Japanese words of lizard and whale. So it kind of makes sense when you look at the kind of the way they're going.
You're saying Godzilla completely wrong, Dan. It's Godzilla!
Yeah, I should have said that.
Actually, it's Gojira. Gojira.
Because of course they had to have a moment where the first person to say it has to be an Asian person saying Godzilla, and they have to say it exactly how they...
I remember the people cracking up in the theater when they heard that.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't made to be funny, but it definitely was funny.
Yeah, it was unintentionally kind of hilarious, and it's hard not to be. Yeah,
you call him Gojira.
Just the way it kind of stopped and like zoomed in, and it was just like, you had that delayed pause, and then suddenly we call him Godzilla, and like he kind of sounded like a South Park character there for a second.
It was most likely a nod, it was probably a little...
Yeah. I think they knew what they were doing there, so.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm probably in the majority here in saying that the movie starts off a bit slow. trying to set up all the backstory and everything. I do like what they did though with the earthquake 15 years before, and how they were kind of including some other threats to humanity, things like that. And I'm guessing the one was sort of a nod to Mothra.
Yeah, that's what I assumed. I guess like a lot of those characters I can't give their names. Or is it Mothra or I don't even know. There's like
the flying one, Mothra.
Okay.
I know it's obviously wasn't the same exact thing, but to me it was a clear nod to, to that monster. And another thing that kind of struck me weird, like, I didn't quite understand where they were going with Godzilla's role in the big picture, like with them going with the fact that he's just this alpha creature that restores balance when it's needed, and to me it didn't really fit. I don't know, like, I don't think people would I don't think people would legitimately jump to that conclusion without questioning it more. You know what I mean?
It's like giving a random stranger your car keys. Like, oh, can you watch my car, and handing them your car keys. Like, why would you do that? And that's kind of what they did with Godzilla, except on a much larger scale.
Yeah, there's like one guy, and it's like, well, he says that Godzilla's a good guy, so let's just believe him.
I guess, jumping to that conclusion was kind of far-fetched in some instances, but I think he also kind of looked at I think one indication was like the fossil that seemed like an older Godzilla, which was clearly like attacked by the two creatures because it was killed by them or something like that. And I kind of like the idea though, because Godzilla in the past movies, there's been times when he has been the cause of destruction, or he's been there to defend humans. I like that there was at least a reasoning to it. Maybe how they figured it out was kind of unnecessary. It's like, you're just going to connect these dots and say, we'll just let the monsters kill each other because that's why. But I think maybe if they didn't have to say it and they just kind of developed that answer, like allowed it to kind of percolate and we can see it happen, would make more sense. But I think it allows the fact that Godzilla is going after these monsters to have some sort of justification beyond the fact that we want to see a monster battle. I think it at least is more legitimate than, like, I don't know, calling your Zord to find and attack this character. So I do agree that, like, having Ken Watanabe just decide, but I figured there was enough there. He at least made a hypothesis of why you did it. And I guess I like the thematical aspect of it, of just the idea of, this is nature's taking its course, and really in the story, humans have very little to do within, the overall impact of nature. We're just kind of there along for the ride. It's really, they're not there to destroy us. We're just kind of in the way. We're more like insects to them. So I guess
Godzilla's a giant white blood cell.
Exactly. That's a good point. Yeah. He is their defense, I guess. I don't know.
I agree. That's a great way to do it. I just think they should have maybe reached that conclusion at the end of the movie.
Oh yeah.
I think that would have been,
I can see that.
Better served doing it that way instead of reaching that conclusion in the middle of the movie when all of the when everything starts picking up. They're like, oh well, I think he's just this good guy that kind of is going to take them out just to restore balance. It's like, how do you jump to that right away? Like, I could see, after everything occurred, after all the events took place, I could see reaching that conclusion, and then to me it would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah, he was like Godzilla's ultimate fanboy, that somehow he knew everything about the creature even though he never really saw him before.
It kind of goes with that whole adage with writing of, you should, it's more of a rule, I guess, that you should show people and not tell them, because it's not as acceptable if you tell the information as opposed to show it.
Right. That's a good point. I do think also, I think Cranston was really good in the parts he was in.
It was a very short role.
Yeah, and I will say, like, once his character kind of goes away, I'll call it, it loses a little bit of that luster for the human element to me. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, his story was much more compelling, and there was like almost like a revenge factor to it, and it was more thought out, I thought, and you had a lot of setup there, and then you kind of just lose it, and then you're kind of just, okay, now you're focusing on that. But I'm like, well, I kind of like that story better. Why did we go back to that one? Because that was much more interesting.
Yeah, I felt like if they focused on him through the whole movie, it would have been more interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Rather than his son. So.
Yeah, and part of that is the fact that Alan Taylor Johnson, who I like as an actor, he's been good in things. I thought he was fine in Kick-Ass, and he was good in this movie Nowhere Boy, where he played John Lennon. But here he is just so bland. Like, I feel like he just doesn't give any emotion whatsoever. Like, I think blinking was the biggest thing he did, besides just be there somehow with coincidence always when Godzilla showed up. So I don't know. It's just, he's got either the best luck ever or the worst luck ever. I can't tell.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, some of the scenes and situations they put him in were very intriguing. Like, I think maybe in your review, Dan, you might have mentioned the bridge scene, the train bridge.
Yeah.
That was a pretty interesting scene. Like, just, there was a moment of tension there. It's like, the monster walking by, and I mean, that was really cool, stuff like that. But as far as, like, when Godzilla's off screen, which he is for a lot of the movie, kind of struggles to, I guess, move the story along a little bit.
Yeah, and I overall did enjoy it, and I think a comparison to Pacific Rim is a good one for a lot of reasons, obviously for the monster aspect, but also because Pacific Rim, I think, had a lot of glaring issues, for sure. There are issues with their characters and with the acting and whatnot, but I was able to look over those, because what it does well, it does really well, that I can enjoy it for what it is. And similar to Godzilla, where there are, I think, even more issues within the characters, within the plotting, and maybe a little bit too much delayed satisfaction. I think the director, Gareth Edwards, gets a little bit too clever for his own good at times. But once you kind of get that action you've been waiting for, I just thought it was so spectacular that I walked away overall happy. I mean, I did walk away wanting more and wishing that we got more of what we had there. But I just thought the scale of it, just the uniqueness in which it was able to kind of be reminiscent of the original Godzilla while still being updated. And it at times kind of looked like two people in suits, but not in an unrealistic way, just in how the movement seemed very fluid. And the Godzilla wasn't just bulking beast that couldn't move around. So he almost had like arms. It almost looked like a gigantic professional wrestler at times. But
yeah, I definitely walked away satisfied too. I mean, like you said, you are going to want a little bit more, but, I mean, I was pretty much happy with it. And then especially like the ending, like where you kind of think it's over and then something else happens. Like, I like how they ended it sort of on a high note and leaving it open for other things. So,
Greg, do you have anything else you wanted to?
I was just wondering if you guys, I know you both liked Godzilla's look. I was wondering if you liked the other creatures' look in this.
They were, like you mentioned, Chuck, you mentioned the one looks very reminiscent of Mothra or, past creatures. They look to me, I got a very big sense of like the creature from Cloverfield, just in like their legs and like how they kind of don't have a defined look to them. I did like them overall. They're almost like Scorpion. I don't know. They were unique, but almost like, I think the best.
Yeah, they're not.
You don't have something to kind of tie it to. It's almost like they're such an anomaly that it's hard to really have them stick in your head.
Yeah, they're not humanoid. Like Godzilla's basically still humanoid for the most part. Like two legs, two arms, a head similar to ours.
I did like how they had the characters the two different other monsters were unique within their own right. Like one could fly, the other one was a little bit bigger, and that I did like that dynamic. I think that led to a lot of really cool action sequences and stuff like that. So
I thought the eyes were kind of weird. Like
yeah, that's what I was going for, was with the eyes.
Like it was just glowing orange, and you could see the color kind of going deeper into their skin.
It was more like a headlight than an actual eye.
Yeah. I didn't understand that, but
I like that they were looked like they were, like you said, based off of kind of like insects, but the eyes kind of lost me, and it kind of looked more like a technology type of creature than the actual creature itself. And also, I know they were different. One was bigger, but I still kind of was getting confused in there every once in a while of which combatant Godzilla was up against in each moment, because there were the shots were kind of in close during the battle, so I kind of get lost in that, and I really didn't know like what piece of the creature was coming at Godzilla or like causing destruction at some point, so I kind of got confused with that. It was kind of like the same problem I get in watching a Transformers movie. I kind of got lost in all that.
Yeah, I did like the fact that they did keep the camera back enough that you almost got that perspective of, like I mentioned, like the first Godzilla, where you're looking up at them like from the ground up. There were moments where it was a little bit hard to follow, just because it's like you have such a monster that's such a large scale that you can only see certain parts of it. I did like in how it, like, you get this ash that kind of covers the ground, so it gives it almost like a black and white look for a while. Though I wish at times there were at least a few action sequences that were during the daylight, because I just love the look of Godzilla, like when he's in the water and it's all just like really colorful and you can kind of really get a good look of what he looks like. But once he gets on the ground, it's always dark out, and especially with the other creatures, I feel like you never really get a picture of them when it's actually sunny. They're always like a little bit hidden within the darkness.
Yeah, I like, the other thing was, I liked the little bit of a nod to the older versions when he kind of does the tail whip of the one monster into the side of the building.
Oh yeah.
Which he did that in a lot of the older films, and that was, to me, that was like a clear nod to those as well. I thought that was pretty cool and pretty well done.
And I know you brought this up, Chuck, after we watched the movie, and the idea of good guy Godzilla. Yeah. And how
the most polite version of Godzilla we've seen yet.
Yeah, like he's getting attacked at the Golden Gate Bridge, and he's just kind of like, I'm just trying to hang out here. Like, why do you got to do it? And
he walks away.
Yeah, exactly.
He's the bigger lizard, and he walks away.
He's swimming, and he goes underneath the aircraft carriers and stuff, so he doesn't sink them. I mean, that's appreciative, right? But I did like how they use that for scale, where you see like, oh, like, hey, look, it's Godzilla's back, and then you realize it's only one small piece of him, and there's like, it's just how big that creature really is. I think that was kind of cool.
What I want to know is, why didn't the Scarlet Witch take him out?
Yeah,
Elizabeth Olsen sitting right there with a bunch of hex powers as the Scarlet Witch. She could have been helping those people out a lot.
Or Quicksilver.
No more monsters.
Dave, no more monsters.
Maybe that's what happened, and that's why there's not that much time for monsters. Who knows?
Yeah.
Or you have Quicksilver too, because Aaron Taylor Johnson is also playing Quicksilver. So you have these two characters that are playing, husband and wife, going to be, brother and sister next summer. So
movie cest.
Kind of weird, but
it seems to be the trend, because there's a movie coming out called Fault of Your Stars, where it stars Shailene Woodley, and the character that plays her brother in Divergent is like her boyfriend in Fault of Our Stars. So it's like, apparently there's this trend where you show up on screen with someone who's your brother, and then you have a movie with them where you're boyfriend and girlfriend. So it's just kind of, I don't know what Hollywood's been doing lately, but it seems to be becoming a norm. So I don't know.
Well, as one person said in a bookstore that I overheard, incest is best.
What bookstore was this, and what's...
You were there, actually, when it was said, because I remember all of us going, what the fuck?
What bookstore in Tennessee were you at?
It was at Books A Million.
Well, there you go. Well, Scranton is like Pennsylvania, so there you know.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I did like it. I had this when I did that article way back when of like my 30 most anticipated movies, and this was up there. I think this was like number 8, and on that scale, I do think it's a little disappointing. I didn't get the great movie I was hoping for, but I did enjoy it. Maybe my expectations were a little bit too high. I'm hoping in a sequel they can kind of right the wrongs that they had here and come with something that's even better next time. Because I don't think you really need any of these human characters next time. You could probably I think human characters are important, as long as they're interesting, but I think this year they weren't, because one of my favorite movies of all time is Jurassic Park. And what people don't even realize is the total amount of time that there are dinosaurs on screen totals up to about 20 minutes or so. But I think it's just really well paced, and the characters there maybe aren't the most aren't really deep, but they're at least interesting. And I think the issue here is that your most interesting character is on screen for a very short amount of time, and you're stuck with, Sergeant just show up whenever. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you guys this. I'm not sure how many of the older Godzilla movies you've seen, but do you guys have any like favorite moments, favorite monsters, anything like that like kind of pops into your mind?
Looking at kaiju history, King Kong is considered like a kaiju monster. So I do really like the King Kong, and even the original when he has like a fight with some of the dinosaurs. I think that's really great.
Kaiju, tell me another.
I have not seen the original Godzilla. I wanted to go back and rewatch it before this podcast, but I didn't have the chance. But I did see the American retelling of it, which is really weird, where basically they took the original and just recut an American actor in different scenes. So
I actually liked that one a lot. I think it was fairly well done for its time.
Oh yeah, I think it's just kind of weird that they did that. It's where like just kind of like you can kind of tell. It's like, let me talk to you about what's going on here and explain this random Japanese couple that's getting attacked and give you their backstory. And I'm American. It's just kind of weird. I did like that. There's a really great moment, I think. I like how they kind of slowly introduced Godzilla. And there's like a really cool thing with like a train sequence that I thought was really, still to this day, still pretty good for a movie that's, 60 years old or so. So
yeah, and if you look at that one too, I had read somewhere, and I don't know if I mentioned this on one of the previous episodes or not, but I had read somewhere that they were saying that they updated this 2014 version of Godzilla to be taller to represent the height of the buildings. How they've grown over the years, and the director was saying that they made him 350 feet tall. But if you go back to the original American version, they actually say that Godzilla is 400 feet tall in that one.
Yeah.
Not really sure where that article came from.
Well, what happened was, in the original 1954 one, he was shorter, and the reason why they gave the height higher and his height was shorter in the Japanese version is because Japanese buildings weren't as tall because they had to be aligned with earthquake regulations. Yeah. But so compared to the American buildings, which are a little bit higher, so technically, like, he's the same character, but they just used different measurements because of the buildings you're comparing it to, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, but even the scale, though, in a lot of the shots, which a lot of the shots they took from the original Japanese version, like, where he kind of, like, he picks a train up with his hand, which, you see, like, his hand is actually bigger than the 2014 version, where he puts his hand around the cables of the Golden Gate Bridge, suspension bridge. To me, it looked like the scale even looked bigger back then in some of the shots.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I have seen there's like a image going around the internet where it has like all the different like image, like a scale with all the different Godzillas, and it says this one's the tallest. So I don't know how exactly the whole scaling thing works out exactly. So
yeah,
I don't know. But he looked awesome, so I guess that's all that matters.
Craig, do you have any favorite monsters or moments or anything?
I haven't really watched that much kaiju films. That I do enjoy. They have it on Netflix. The Mystery Science Theater 3000 does one with this. I think he's a turtle-looking creature, and that's pretty freaking hilarious. And I loved watching that one.
I like turtles.
I like turtles.
That's what I was going.
And the little boy in there, the little Asian boy, is freaking hilarious with how excited he is about everything. So I think that's kind of fun and funny to watch. But I'm definitely
he was saying that his language. Those turtles.
When I was a kid, I watched there's the Kid Godzilla, which was so weird. It's just like the little baby Godzilla type of creature. It's so awkward. Some guy, little kid in a suit. It's just weird to look at when you see pictures of him. But I remember being a kid and just being like, I have no idea what's going on, but I cannot stop watching this.
Should I just take a hit of acid? What the hell is going on? How do I know what acid is at the age of 8?
Mom, no LSD in my dinner tomorrow night. Yeah, I like, I haven't seen a lot of the older Godzilla movies, but one of my, I guess, interest was kind of the Mecha Godzilla. I always thought that was intriguing, kind of the mechanical version that they built of like the same scale. And to me, when I look at it, it just screams Dragonzord from Power Rangers. I mean, it's like literally the same thing. It shoots missiles out of its fingers, and
they just repurposed the costume.
Pretty much, they just painted it. They have it silver, whereas the Power Rangers were black and green. But yeah, I always thought that was funny. Every time I see it, it looks like the Dragonzord. I'm expecting some guy to be calling it with a flute or something.
Which is a weird thing to call a dinosaur with. It's just kind of like...
I know, it's like this tough thing. It's like, oh, how are we going to bring it out? How about a flute? Yeah.
Something like a gong or something. I don't know, drum, but no.
Yeah.
It's flute.
But I always thought that was cool. And then the one that I've seen, I guess, some parts of was called Godzilla Final Wars. And they have all these different versions of Godzilla throughout the years. And you kind of see different versions of Godzilla against each other.
Oh, wow.
And you get to see the I call it the real Godzilla, but like the classic Godzilla look. You get to see him tail whip the 1998
wow.
Broderick version of Godzilla right into the Sydney Opera House. Completely owns him. That was a hilarious moment. I thought that was really cool. So, yeah, those are some of my favorites.
I saw Netflix added a bunch of them, so I have to take a look and see. There's such a huge like history there that I just, that I am so unaware of. But I know a lot of people are big fans of it.
Yeah, he's actually got his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame there.
Oh, wow. Must be a really big star.
Yeah. I think they did it to commemorate his 50th anniversary or something whenever, and they added that on there. But yeah, lots of cultural influence there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Even the studio, like Toho or whatever, the original studio, like for a while there, they were like suing people left and right for using things that were too closely resembling Godzilla, like commercials and things. They were like suing the pants off everybody.
Nice. All right. But yeah, so it seems like overall we all had somewhat of issues with it, but I think we all kind of walked away at least happy, looking forward to the next one.
Even though when we always do reviews, they sound really negative, they actually aren't that bad.
Well, I think sometimes with a movie, the negative things are just either more telling or just more interesting to talk about. So, but I think we talked about a decent amount of positives. Like I said, I think the destruction is pretty incredible. At the end, just like that last sequence is just wow. Just that's how you do a monster movie. So, but yeah, and like
monster.
Exactly. Like Chuck mentioned, my written review is up on the site at keycastradio.com, so you can also check it out there. But we like to end each episode with a letter, and I did read this letter last episode, but of course we lost it. So I'm going to do it again because it's important and it's within the subject we've been talking about, and that is movies. And we are in the thick of the summer movie season, and within that season you get people who, let's just say, don't normally go to the movie, so maybe they aren't aware of the proper etiquette when going. So I wrote this letter that I think it will hopefully benefit us all. So here it goes. Dear potential moviegoers, I understand that you may not go to the movies on the regular. With this lack of experience comes a lack of understanding of what the proper etiquette is. Well, don't worry, I'm here to help. If you follow my simple rules, I guarantee you that you and the rest of your people in your theater will have a great time at the movies. Let's start with an easy one, your phone. People love their phones, but people also love being able to watch a movie without the gigantic glare of the mini sun you call a phone in their face. Your Facebook status, game of Angry Birds, or sexting message can wait until the movie's over. Now, I'm a fan of riff tracks and director commentaries, but you didn't make the movie, nor were you on Mystery Science Theater 3000. So I don't need your input or your sad jokes that are only funny to you and your friends. Be like a normal person and do that stuff on the podcast. Kids are our future, but this movie is our present. Now, no one is saying don't bring kids. Childhood is the perfect time to become transfixed by the theater experience, but it is not the time to be emotionally scarred for life. Maybe hold off on bringing your 6-year-old to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4. You may not care, but I can't get into a movie where I'm witnessing someone being traumatized for life right in front of me. Besides that, if your kid isn't able to lift their head yet, maybe the close quarters of an extremely loud theater isn't the right place for them. If your child is younger than the new movie you're watching, let's give it some time before you bring them to the theater. We all know the price of food at theater is expensive. It's how they make their money. How about we don't complain to the 50-year-old behind the counter about how much things cost, or try to haggle them down as if it's some sort of bargain hunt. Surprisingly, that kid who isn't old enough to get into an R-rated movie doesn't have much say in the price of concessions. And if it bothers you that much, don't buy them. Sneak them in like a true American. Or, wait until the movie's over. If you cannot go 3 hours without stuffing your face, that's on you. It all comes down to one simple rule. Have consideration for other people. Crazy how something simple can be overlooked. The movie theater is not your living room, nor your kitchen, nor your bathroom, nor your bedroom. Unless you're alone in a theater, then have at it. Seems simple enough, right? So let's go to the movies and have ourselves a treat. A treat of a movie not ruined by obnoxious teenagers, crying babies, or old Florida people with itchy trigger fingers. Sincerely, Dan.
Nicely put.
We did witness one of those kids that was not as old as the movie.
Yes.
There was a little tiny girl at the Godzilla showing, so.
Yeah, you're just bad parenting.
Just a little traumatizing 350-foot tall monster,
I know. I guess Godzilla isn't the worst movie I've seen kids too, but I went to see Evil Dead, the remake last year, and there were a mom with 8-9-year-old kids, and that movie is so brutal. I can't watch it as an adult. How is this kid gonna watch it? It's just
the original had a girl getting raped by a plant.
Yeah, and that kind of happens in the second one. So don't.
Mommy, why is that plant raping that girl?
It's parent advisory for a reason. It's not necessarily meaning that just because you're there, it's gonna be okay. It means maybe it's not suitable for the person. But, I even know some theaters that don't allow kids in, just 17-year-old or to R-rated movies no matter what, even the parents aren't there. Because, sometimes the movie theater has to parent when the parent can't, so.
Yeah, and people wonder why our society is so effed up and why we have all these problems with violence and stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. But,
You know what I hate, too, is I would add to your letter as an addendum would be people that crunch their popcorn really freaking loud during the movie.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
That's super annoying.
Yeah. People who
just do that quite a bit.
Closed.
I know.
I like nachos, but I don't think they're good theater food because they're just too loud for the theater. Yeah. There should be pretzels or soft food, and then people who just stuff their face with handful after handful of popcorn. Just kind of.
Or rattle the bag every 2 freaking seconds.
I can never eat popcorn because I feel like I'll be eating it for 4 days after that because it's always stuck in your teeth and it just.
Yeah, no.
It's a snack that keeps on giving. All right. Anything else before we bring this episode to a close?
Nope. We've had enough monster mania for this episode.
Yeah. If you'd like to get in contact with us, there's a number of ways. You can email us at feedback@geekcastradio.com. Check us on Facebook. Search Talking in Circles. Same thing on Twitter. I'm also on Twitter at Movie Revolt. And you can comment on the episode post at geekcastradio.com. All right, so that will be it for this week. Make sure to join us next week. Same time, same podcast feed, same network. But for now,
this has been Chuck.
This has been Greg, or Godzilla.
And this has been Dan, and we've been Talking in Circles. We'll see you next week. I will say doing that by myself was a little weird for the first episode. So I'm surprised they didn't have the stereotypical scene of a bunch of Asian people running away from Godzilla. But I think it was kind of funny though when they go into the city. Of course, they're showing all of little China or whatever, Japan, little Tokyo.
It's funny too. I was talking to a couple of guys at work today about the movie, and oddly enough, we have a guy at work that his last name is Zilla.
Nice.
And he was mad that he never got any royalties from this whole franchise or anything. They took my name. No, I didn't get anything from that.
Zilla. Interesting.
It's Frankzilla. Everybody runs away from him in the office.
All the Asian people at work run away from him. It's really weird.
I knew a kid with a last name Dragon, so that'd be kind of weird if they were both in the same office and they would just always fight each other. So.
Really
Dragonzilla fighting again.
Yeah, really awkward fighting.
They both have stubby little arms.
Just kind of keep pushing each other over towards, like, you know, I can't think of it.
Pushing them into cardboard boxes and stuff.
They live in a box warehouse.
What a roaring towards one another and then running towards each other. It's just, you know.
Why do you make really weird noises when you fight? It's like
the one dude spit in the other guy's throat.
Oh, God.
He opened his mouth and spit right in.
That does not translate to human that well at all.
He's a spitter. Oh, Jesus.
Why is it all blue like that? Gross. Oh, he had a Gatorade beforehand.
Or he's been blowing a smoke. Whatever.